Dayne Brajkovich, born November 11, 1979, in Belmont, Perth, postcode 6104, tattooed on his ear like a badge of war. Expelled from school in 1996, Muay Thai fighter with a 5-4 record who admitted he was better in street fights. 2 years in prison at 22, shot in 2009, left the bullet in his body, rose to become the most feared enforcer in the Hells Angels. November 2020, public brawl with Rebels boss Nick Martin. 2 weeks later, Martin's dead. March 2021, drive-by shooting at his home. December 2023, stabbed in the neck at a concert venue. Refused to cooperate with police both times. Expelled from the Hells Angels in 2022, survived every attempt to take him down. This is his story. If you want more true crime stories like this, subscribe now. The making of a legend from Belmont streets to outlaw Brotherhood. Let's take it back to where it all started. Perth, Western Australia. Belmont, a working-class suburb where being tough wasn't a choice, it was how you survived. Dayne Brajkovich was born there. On November 11, 1979, there was nothing flashy about his beginnings. Belmont didn't produce suits and boardrooms. It produced people who learned early that respect was taken, not given, and that weakness came with consequences. Brajkovich carried that place with him everywhere. He literally carved it into himself, tattooing Belmont's postcode 6104 onto his ear. That wasn't for show. It was a line in the sand, a reminder of who he was and where he came from. He never tried to clean up his image or rewrite his story, and that raw honesty became part of his identity. When his father died in 2023, Brajkovich openly admitted he felt no grief. He said it publicly, without dressing it up. Whether that reads as strength or emotional emptiness depends on who's listening. His mother, on the other hand, was steady ground. His younger sister Haley completed the small circle that actually mattered to him. Those bonds are important when you're trying to understand how loyalty and family later took such extreme forms in his life. School never held him. In 1996, he was expelled from Ursula Frayne Catholic College for aggression and for simply not fitting into the system. No surprise there. From there, he found work on nightclub doors as a bouncer. This wasn't just a job, it was training. Night after night, he learned how to read people, how to control a room, and how far intimidation could take you. Confrontation didn't drain him. It fueled him, the fighter's dream that never quite landed before the beaky world claimed him. Brajkovich chased legitimacy through fighting. He trained in Muay Thai, a brutal, unforgiving sport that suited his nature. In 2001, he fought Nick's Special K car at Melbourne's Vodafone Arena, in front of around 10,000 people. That moment mattered. He felt the lights, the crowd, the rush. He liked being seen. He liked the violence even more. On paper, his record was solid but unspectacular: 9 fights, 5 wins, 4 losses. No belts, no legacy. And Brajkovich was honest about why. He admitted his real strength wasn't in regulated combat. It was in street fights, where there were no rules and fear did half the work. Most people would hide that truth. He didn't. In the chaos of the streets, he was lethal. Inside ropes, playing by someone else's rules. He wasn't. A shot at the Western Australian heavyweight title disappeared when he landed on the wrong side of the law at just 22. Prison ended that dream for good, but it also reshaped him, pushing him closer to the role he was always drifting toward: the prison years. Building the enforcer, he served 2 years, first at Wooroloo Prison Farm, then Acacia Prison. After getting into a fight, prison wasn't downtime, it was refinement. Inside, he absorbed a code that would guide the rest of his life: never look weak, never help authorities, and always make sure people fear crossing you. His father's old advice echoed in his head: give them nothing. He took that to heart. When he walked free, he was heavier, stronger, and darker in mindset. Steroids bulked up his body, but it was the hunger for power that really drove him. Violence wasn't just a reaction anymore, it was a strategy. And Perth's outlaw motorcycle scene, especially the Hells Angels, had a use for men like that. By 2009, Brajkovich had a name in the underworld. That year, he was shot in the leg. And here's what mattered most: he refused to talk. No statements, no cooperation. He even left the bullet in his body, carried it around like proof. In that world, that choice speaks louder than words. It says, you can hurt me, but you won't own me. You won't break me. And that kind of defiance, that's not just respect, it's reputation. The tattoo canvas. When your body becomes your manifesto. By the time Dayne Brajkovich hit his peak inside the Hells Angels, his body stopped being just a body. It became a message. Head to toe, scalp, ears, eyelids, face, there was no empty space left. Every tattoo said something about who he was and how he moved through the world. Revenge stretched across his neck. Enforcer stamped on his face. A swastika carved into his chin. None of it was random. None of it was for style. For Brajkovich, tattoos were a weapon, pure intimidation. Imagine stepping into a confrontation with someone who has enforcer written on his face. Before a word is spoken, before a punch is thrown, the balance has already shifted. The ink does the talking. It tells you exactly what role he plays and exactly how far he's willing to go. He understood the power of image better than most. His look wasn't just loyalty to the club, it was authority. He became the Hells Angels in Perth, not just by reputation, but by presence. When people saw him, there was no confusion about what he represented. The rebel boss brawl. When the hunter becomes famous, November 2020, was the moment everything exploded into public view. At the Sandbar in Scarborough, Brajkovich clashed with Rebels boss Nick Martin. This wasn't hidden. This wasn't whispers. CCTV caught it all. Two heavyweight figures in Australia's beaky world throwing punches in plain sight. The footage showed Brajkovich landing multiple blows as Martin tried to cover up. Brajkovich later pleaded guilty to fighting in public and copped an $800 fine. On paper it was nothing, but the real impact came after. 2 weeks later, Nick Martin was dead gunned down in a carefully planned sniper attack at Perth, one of the most high-profile gangland assassinations in years. Police immediately looked at Media pressure followed. Questions piled up. He denied any involvement and stuck to that denial every time. No evidence ever tied him to the murder. But in the underworld, facts aren't the only thing that matters. Timing matters. Image matters. And from the outside it looked like a public clash, followed by a death. That alone was enough to elevate his name. Whether fair or not, it locked him in as the most feared face of the Hells Angels. The cost of prominence. When the spotlight brings danger, that level of notoriety doesn't just bring respect, it paints a target. In March 2021, Brajkovich's home in Ascot was hit in a drive-by shooting. The bullets narrowly missed his wife Jacinta and her daughter. It was close. Too close. The attack involved a black Porsche and a white Mercedes, both stolen. Police later convicted Jacob Peter Gordon for supplying the vehicles used in the hit. Then the story took a strange turn. Brajkovich's old-school rival, Tristan Alberry, one of the most notorious psychopaths in the country, was in protective custody at the same time Gordon was locked up. While housed in the Special Handling Unit, Alberry learned about Gordon's role in the shooting and assaulted him during recreation. This was the twist no one expected. A former enemy stepping in, not out of friendship but out of some warped sense of alignment. In the beaky world, loyalties aren't clean. Enemies don't always stay enemies. The line between who wants you dead and who might back you can shift overnight. And in Brajkovich's world, that line was always razor-thin. The expulsion when the Brotherhood turns on its own. Then came 2022, the moment no one saw coming. Dayne Brajkovich was expelled from the Hells Angels. This was the club carved into his skin, the Brotherhood that shaped every part of his adult life. And just like that, it was over. Gone. Reports say tensions inside the Perth chapter had been building for some time, eventually boiling over into an alleged attack on the chapter president. Other accounts point to a different trigger: Brajkovich's hardline stance against members mixing with rival gangs. To him, that crossed a line. He saw it as disloyalty, a direct threat to the club's principles and its war with rivals. But expulsion in the outlaw world isn't a polite dismissal. It's rarely clean. Word is the confrontation turned physical. Punches thrown, Brajkovich forcibly removed. Imagine that for a second, being beaten out of the very group that gave you identity, status, and purpose. Not just losing your patch, but having your entire sense of self ripped away. For someone who lived and breathed the Hells Angels, this was a brutal fall. Yet there was one line he refused to cross. Unlike others who are pressured to erase their past, Brajkovich wouldn't remove his tattoos. The ink stayed. His body still told the story, even if the colors were gone. He made it clear he didn't regret his time in the club, and he wasn't ashamed of it. But that split came at a cost. Without the protection of the Brotherhood, he was suddenly exposed. The people who once stood beside him were now a potential danger. In the outlaw world, yesterday's brothers can become tomorrow's threat. The fall, when loyalty becomes a liability. What happened next was something few expected. Brajkovich became a marked man. In March 2023, his name surfaced again, this time tied to the Perth Mint scandal. Back in June 2022, he had bought $27,000 worth of gold using nothing more than a driver's license. No enhanced checks, no red flags raised, despite his criminal history. With the Perth Mint already under fire over gold purity issues, Brajkovich's purchase exposed serious cracks in Australia's anti-money laundering system. Then came the incident that drove it all home. In December 2023, at 44 years old, Brajkovich was stabbed in the neck outside a Ministry of Sound concert at Kings Park. It happened around 9:50 p.m. As crowds were leaving, he was rushed to Royal Perth Hospital with a deep neck wound that required emergency surgery. This wasn't random. Multiple people on motorcycles were seen speeding away from the scene. That alone told its own story. This wasn't a drunken scuffle. It was organized, deliberate. Detective Senior Sergeant Anthony Thompson later confirmed that the attackers and the victim knew each other. This was beaky business, handled the beaky way. Witnesses described Brajkovich in shock, clutching his throat. The blade had cut from the base of his neck around Toar at the back, missing his jugular by a terrifyingly small margin. A slight shift in angle and he would have bled out on the pavement outside a concert venue. His wife Jacinta was there. She saw it happen. Panic everywhere, screams, paramedics racing in. For a moment, it looked like people were watching a man die, but he didn't. Brajkovich survived. And true to form, he stayed silent. Despite the severity of the attack, he refused to cooperate with police. No names, no statements, no explanations. He stuck to the code that had shaped him since his teens, the code of silence. And because of that, despite clear signs of gang involvement, no arrests were made. The softer side. How a wife changed everything. This is where Dayne Brajkovich's story takes a turn most people never see coming. In April 2020, he matched with Jacinta Hill on Tinder. Nothing serious, just another swipe, another first meet. But it didn't stay small. Whatever started there stuck. 6 months later, they were engaged. By September 2022, they'd bought their first home together. This wasn't image building or some biker cliche. This was real. On a head already covered in tattoos, fuck the police. Revenge notorious enforcer, he made space for something else. Jacinta's name inked twice, his stepdaughter's name alongside it. On a body that read like a warning, there was now proof of attachment. Love carved in the same permanent way as everything else. When they appeared in court together, the contrast was striking. Jacinta in sharp electric blue, Brajkovich in gold, his trademark, a thick chain worth around $216,000. Gold bracelets, 8 16-karat gold rings, one engraved Senna, a tribute to Jacinta, another simply read hate. Even in what he wore, he told his story. Violence and affection sitting side by side, never pretending the other didn't exist. They didn't get a peaceful life. They were shot at. They lived under constant pressure. But they also built something together. And when he was stabbed outside that concert venue, Jacinta was there. She saw it happen, and she didn't walk away. The unapologetic survivor today, Dayne Brajkovich is still one of the most recognizable names in Perth and well beyond it. Even without official ties to any club, his name remains inseparable from Australia's outlaw biker world. He continues to surface in headlines, sometimes over new charges, sometimes simply because his presence refuses to fade. Weapons charges, drug charges, turning up to court with a Nazi swastika tattoo on his face, an act that earned him yet another charge. He keeps pushing boundaries, legal and social, seemingly unmoved by the fallout. To some, he's nothing more than a violent criminal. To others, he's a product of his surroundings, shaped early and locked into a path few ever escape. Most people see something harder to define, someone both frightening and tragic, repulsive and compelling at the same time. What can't be argued is this: he survived. In a world where men like him usually don't, he was shot, he was stabbed, he was targeted by his own former brothers. He lost his patch, his protection, and nearly his life, and somehow, he kept going. The legacy, what Brajkovich's story really says: this isn't a redemption story. There's no clean ending here. He didn't disappear, didn't reform, didn't reinvent himself as a warning to others. He's still tattooed, still controversial, still making decisions that frustrate, confuse, and anger people. What his story offers instead is a clear look into a world most people never touch. A world where loyalty is everything until it isn't. Where brotherhood can turn lethal. Where survival often comes down to silence, fear, and reputation. It's the story of a working-class kid from Belmont who became exactly what his environment pushed him toward and then had to figure out how to live once that identity was ripped away in the end. Dayne Brajkovich represents something uncomfortable. The people we fear and judge, the names we read in crime headlines, aren't just symbols. They're human, complicated, full of contradictions, capable of brutality and devotion, violence and protection, dominance and vulnerability. His story is still being written on Perth streets, in courtrooms, in police files. The chapters keep coming. But the man who rose from Belmont, climbed the Hells Angels, was marked for death and lived through it. He's still here. And maybe that's the most unsettling truth of all.